take a look at the dollar yen for the upcoming September the 11th session. We're going to pay particular close attention to this pair because it is really playing hard with these lows here, and we've actually come below them. And so let's go down to some lower time frame charts. And that's a pretty good size multi-month double bottom. Let's take a look at the 4-hour chart and see if what we're looking at. You can see big spikes up and down. Now that's almost a hammer. A lot of people say, you know, that, oh, there's a hammer. That's just a nice price rejection candle. A hammer technically has to have a tail or a wick 2 to 3 times the size of the body. And if you were to measure this out, it really wouldn't qualify. But it's a beautiful price rejection candle as far as I'm concerned. In other words, price tested and then the buyers came back in. Now, it's going to be very, very important because this low is significantly below the low that we see here on this daily chart. Let's go back to that. Any kind of close below this low on these lower time frames, we're going to be looking to go short because we're already just below them. It could be invalidating it, which means it's looking to break through those. So let's take a look at the 1 hour and see if there's any kind of setups that we see that might be coming. As you can see with the MACD, the divergence that we're looking at, you know, we drew some of these trend lines out here in the future, and you can see that as it violated it, right? Remember, these were the trend lines we drew yesterday. It violated it. It played around. It did fund your trade, which was nice. You know, it did drop fairly quickly here. It never came back and hit your stop, and then it fell really nice. And this is why, again, as we say, target previous lows for taking some money off the table. Do you see that huge spike? Now, at one time, this was a completely bearish candle, and you were thinking, really cool, that's a lot of dough, you know? And look at that. Then the market came back and took all that money back away from you. But again, if you pay yourself as you go, just like with any kind of investment, your personal savings, pay yourself as you go in the market. Pay yourself as you go. I'm going to say that again. Because of the fact it's so important because of price action like this. You feel much better when you have money off the table and it's all the house's money. So right now you can see that, look at this MACD, it's pretty close to the water line. I will say one thing about the 30 and minute and the 1 hour chart is there's a couple nice things I think that are setting up for some upward movement, perhaps during Asia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase some of these trend lines that we've drawn in here because they're no longer in play. But something that is in play is still this particular channel, right? We're going to look at these lows. Really going to keep an eye on those very, very carefully. Multi-day lows and multi-day highs. So this is what we're going to watch for during the upcoming Asian session and into the London session. We're going to look for these lows to hold. Okay, any kind of close below that low here, a close below that low on a 60-minute chart, you're going to have to go short because that's violated that double bottom completely, multi-month double bottom that we saw on the daily chart. Now, one thing we're also going to watch for is a buy that comes across this really nice trend line. The dollar yen actually has a really nice trend line compared to some of the other pairs. Close above this on the 30-minute, we're going to look to go long, and we're going to try and stay in this trade, take some money off the table as this moves in our direction up into this previous resistance price area. We're going to take a little bit more off as we reach the top here and leave some on to see if it runs. The third trade, remember, the first one was a close below this on a 60-minute chart, a close above this trend line on a 30-minute chart. A third possible trade that we'll be looking for is price to hold up when it comes up into this area, like it did these 1, 2, 3 times. And if it does hold and we get a trend line break, right? We get a trend line break like we had here. We get some kind of futuristic trend line break that price travels up to that area, wherever it may be. We get a break like we did here and a close below it on the 30-minute chart, we're going to go look to go short. So again, here was a trend line that came up here. We talked about watching for these highs. There was your close below the 30-minute. Stops go up here. Boom. Really nice trade. So keep your eye out for that and understand what we're trying to tell you as far as highs, lows, prices, where stops go. Again, we're going to be creating a whole string of videos and we're working on that to educate you as far as stop placements, trades, why exactly things go and why we look for these highs and lows and closes on certain time frames. So please keep that in mind and keep watching for that information. We'll let you know as it's coming out and to anticipate it. And so that'll be a wrap for the dollar yen for the upcoming September the 11th session. Let's take a look at the dollar Swiss for the upcoming September the 11th session. Again, we're still outside of this basic daily support level that we've had drawn through here. We've still continued to drop. Haven't had tremendous follow through, not a lot of explosive price action like we did when we popped through it. Very, very slight follow through. So that said, let's go ahead and take a look down at the 4 hour and see if we have anything else that's helping us out here. Just that, again, you can see the up and down price action. That's really helpful for us to see this on a 4 hour chart. And the reason for that is, again, it helps us to appreciate, as we've talked about in weeks past, how we should be taking profit if we get into a trade. For example, here, we've talked about some of these price levels yesterday. Remember we talked about a close, and this, I think this is really important. Remember we talked about a close above this level, we'd go long. There was this spike, right? There was a spike above here, and bang, it snapped right back down in here. And so that's why it's very, very important we work with the close of candles. But even since yesterday's session, very, very tight up and down. And if you take a look at MACD, continues to grind higher despite price moving ever so slightly lower. And we're going to draw these out here. And so it's really going to become very interesting, I think, over the next session or so to see what happens. So let's get down to a 30-minute chart. You can see that the MACD has continued to, again, get closer to what we call the water line here, the center line. If we get here on the 30-minute, to me, there's not a lot of really good trade setups at this point, especially going into Asia right now, as we're going to be looking at price beginning with the Asian session for September 11th. We've done this recording a little bit earlier for you. And if you take a look at this bottoming that we have in price here. So what I would like to see happen during the Asian session is one of a couple things. Let's go ahead and draw this, what we would like to see as a support area. Get rid of some of these other little lines on here. There we go. So let's take a look at the support area. What we'd like to see during Asia is Asia come down here and retest the lows. We would really like to see that. Any kind of close below this level here on a hourly chart, again, we'd be looking to go short because it would be a continuation of that daily move across that daily support level. The other thing that we'd like to watch for is a trend of some sort to develop out here in the future, right? Maybe price comes down here and it bottoms and it hangs out. And then a close above this on a 30-minute chart, we would like to go back long. And the reason we say that is because price has had a hard time going further down. If it holds at these lows, crosses a futuristic trend line here in the future on a 30-minute chart and closes above it, it might then begin its journey upwards for a little bit of a retracement to really retest this previous support as resistance, which it really hasn't fully done yet. So for the dollar Swiss, that's really what we're going to be watching for, is perhaps during the Asian session for price to fall down here, retest these lows. Again, if we close below this level on hourly chart, we'd probably be looking to go short. And any kind of futuristic cross of a trend line that's developed by price action that's going down lower here, we would look for a close above the 30-minute chart. And again, because we have not had that big follow through that we discussed on the daily chart, we'd be looking possibly for some pullback up after this move that we've had. So that's going to be a wrap for the dollar Swiss for the upcoming September the 11th session.